Welcome. Great to see you. It's a great turnout. And welcome again to the Evergreen State College's Admitted Student Open House. It will shortly become a beautiful day and be a little less chilly than it is right now. I hope that the music helped warm you up. It was certainly warming up the band members as you saw them. I'm going to give a very short introduction to this morning's speakers, and I'll be back toward the end of this hour session just to give you the layout for the remainder of the day. My name's Steve Hunter. My title is the Associate Vice President for Enrollment Management. That means I work with the staff in admissions, registration, financial aid, and student employment. You'll see many of our staff around today. First, I want to thank our musicians. They are standing here at the entryway. They are the Artesian Rumble Orchestra, and they're comprised of Evergreen faculty, Evergreen alums, staff members, and probably some community members too. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, I heard that among the group we have a graduate, one of the very first graduates of the Evergreen State College. He may be stepping forward now, but a special acknowledgement for that. And in general, thank you guys. They often perform for us, and I'm sure it's clear to you that they enliven the atmosphere as people are rolling in on a foggy morning. Thank you. Today, you'll have a chance to learn more about academic and student life at Evergreen from faculty, staff, and students. You also have opportunity to participate in tours of campus and our residence halls, and a special opportunity to take a tour of Evergreen's media services facilities, which are quite extraordinary. There will also be an information fair later in the afternoon, and again, I'll come back around on this at the end of the session, in which you'll be able to talk to staff from a variety of student service offices on campus. Next up this morning, you'll hear from Dr. Nancy Murray, who is a member of the faculty and currently serving as an academic dean. She'll talk some about the distinctive features of an Evergreen education. And following Nancy, our president, Dr. George Bridges, will add his welcome to students and guests today. So I'm going to make this brief so we can move on with the program. Again, great to see you here. I'm glad you made time for us today, and I hope you come away having learned some more about Evergreen and firm up your plans for fall 2016. Now, Nancy Murray.
Oh, there's nothing to hold my paper so that it doesn't just fall on the floor. Hang on a sec. Or the microphone. No. There we go. Welcome. As Steve said, my name is Nancy Murray, and I'm currently serving as an academic dean. But in a few short months, I'll be returning to the faculty, and I am a biologist by training, and this is my 15th year at the college. I was asked by Clarice in admissions to talk to you all a little bit about our academic programs. But before I do that, I think I want to back up and give you a little bit of the historical perspective of the college. We are just coming up on we're just shy of our 50th anniversary of the founding of the college. And the college came into existence mostly because of a demographic study that was done by the state of Washington in the early 60s. One of the things that came out of that study was the realization that in the K-12 pipeline in Washington state, there was a huge a great number of students. And when they projected forward onto the baccalaureate institutions that we had in the state, at that time we had University of Washington, Washington State University, the two big Research One institutions, and then we had three regional four-year schools, creatively named Western Washington University, Central Washington University, and Eastern Washington University. So they authorized the creation of a new four-year school, and at the time the running title was Southwest Washington University. that was changed. And then they hired a bunch of founding faculty and administrators, and they gave them a year to design a college from scratch. And there was a directive from the legislature, 3 of them actually. The first was to serve the growing population of the state. And the founder said, check, the mere fact that we're undertaking this exercise, that will take care of itself. The second one was to serve as a liaison between higher education and the legislature, or state government in general. And they thought, well, we're situated in the capital, that'll probably happen. But the third one was really the only one they paid attention to. And literally, if you look at the archival documents, it stated, feel free to think creatively. This is an opportunity that happens rarely, to start a school from scratch. And don't feel like you need to create a carbon copy of Western, Central, or Eastern. And that was what those founders really took to heart and paid attention to. And you've got to remember now, we're like mid-60s, right? And it's a time of a lot of things and change happening in the country. And the folks that they hired as founders were basically running away from things that they didn't like in education in general and in higher education specifically. They felt that a student's education, for one, was fragmented. Going to school and starting as a first-year student, you're required to take general education, right? I need to take an English composition over here. I need to take something from the humanities, or from the sciences and the social science, etc., before you ever really get to think about what you might want to do or dive into it. There were other things that they didn't like. They didn't like, I think we can safely say that the place was founded on a series of no's or negatives. They didn't like departments. They didn't like faculty rank. They didn't like grades. Grades promoted competition over cooperation. Departments were uneven allocation of resources, where there were sort of wealthy and impoverished departments, and a whole host of other things. So after a year, what they came out with is fairly similar to what we are doing today. And that is that rather than a student take 4 or sometimes 5 separate unrelated courses, that the student actually would take one thing. And here that one thing is called a program. And that one thing is typically taught then by 2 or more faculty from different disciplines. And that one thing generally has a theme or is around a question. So later on today, you're going to be visiting some academic or some faculty that are going to talk about different programs that are offered next year. And they're going to give you some advice and some insights into some of the specifics of what's in the catalog. I want to give you an example of a program that I taught so that you can understand a little bit about, even though that we're unique as an institution, it's translatable to the outside world. Okay, so when your child or your student goes home for Thanksgiving in the fall and sitting around the table, they can say, here's what I'm studying. So I got the opportunity to teach with 2 of those founders early in my time here. And I said I was a biologist, and my background is actually in neurobiology. And I was approached by one of the founders. His name is Thad Kurtz. And he said, I have this great idea for a program surrounded by this idea of perception. And I thought, wow, that sounds really fascinating. As a neurobiologist, I'm sort of a cellular molecular neurobiologist. I studied sort of how receptors interact with ligands and how that produces all sorts of different sensory perceptions or movement in muscles. And we were joined by another one of the founding faculty. His name was Chuck Palethorpe. His background is in philosophy, and Thad Kurtz, the other faculty member, is in literature. So the 3 of us designed this program, right, that students take the only thing they took, and it lasted for 2 quarters. So over 20 weeks, we spent with these students at the only thing they took for 20 weeks, and we looked at this idea of perception from a biological point of view. I talked about the cellular and molecular underpinnings of sensory perception in human and other animals. We've got this philosophical strand where we're studying Descartes. We're studying big questions about what is beauty. And then we've got this literature component. So within a week or sort of the weekly basis, we've got labs in the sciences. We've got lecture and workshop in sciences. We've got 2 seminars a week. We've got a film component. And at the end of the 20 weeks, what the students got was a narrative evaluation of the work they did, but they also got a set of credit equivalencies. So they earned 32 credits that were broken down into biology, freshman seminar, philosophy. So even though it sounds like it's this place that's not translatable, the student experience is really engaging because they're engaging around these things, around a question or a theme that's really interesting, and I got to learn a lot too. So they got their writing, they got their philosophy, they got their science, but it wasn't in some disconnected way. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So now I want to go a little bit into more specifics. How many of you picked up a catalog? If you didn't, there's a whole bunch in the back table over here. Give me a show of hands of how many people are coming as first time in college students, freshmen. Okay, great. How many of you are transfer students? Okay. So if you have your catalog, what I want you to do is I'm going to give you the anatomy, because I'm a biologist, of the catalog. So for those of you that are coming without any high school, without any college experience, there are 3 types of programs that you are eligible to enroll in or to think about enrolling in. The first is called core programs. They are designed for first-year students only. Okay, they are at a lower class size than the other programs offered at the college. They're staffed at 18 students per every faculty. So if it's a 2-faculty program, you would have no more than 36 students, okay? That's a lower class size than my 2 children have in public school. And so on page 8 of the catalog, you'll see on the top there are these things called freshman-only programs. I will say that there's only a few of them listed there. There will be more in the online catalog, and so I suggest when you're thinking about what to take, don't use this as your only guide, because this is out of date the moment the ink hits the paper, okay? Then just below that, you'll see things called lower division programs. Those are designed for freshmen and sophomores, okay? Again, a smaller class size. The freshmen only and these lower division programs are also designed to provide some support for helping to transition to college, writing support. And so they're really designed to help someone who's coming maybe out of high school or maybe a few years out of high school transition to college. On the opposite side, on the right-hand side on page 9, is something called all-level programs. And those are programs that are open to anywhere from freshmen to seniors. And there's a lot of different ones that have really interesting titles. And any one of you in this room can take those, okay? The only thing about that is if you are a person coming straight out of high school, you might be in a class with seniors and juniors and sophomores that have already navigated the college experience, and there's not as much support designed and built into those. I'm not trying to steer you away from them. I'm just trying to give you some information. And then those of you that are transfers that are sophomore status and above, on page 10, you'll see programs that are for sophomore, juniors, and seniors, okay? Let me see here. I'm just checking my talking points to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, so I was also asked, I sort of gave an overview of how like a program gets designed. Like how do you come up with these things? And sometimes it's just like what I explained about the perception program. Someone walks up to you and says, I hear you have a background in X, and I have this great idea. And then we also have some formal ways for faculty to sort of do, I guess it's kind of like the dating game, where we do some intermingling and try to get faculty to know each other that might not necessarily know each other because they're new to the college or they're in a discipline that's so far away from what their own background is. Let's see. I'm going to check one more. This is where I wish I had my little ledge here to hold this up here so I could just see. Oh, so what are the expectations in terms of workload? So there's a lot of myths about Evergreen that I'm not going to dispel all of them, but I wanted to say one thing, is that just because we do not have grades does not mean we don't have rigor or expectations of students. In fact, in that program that I described, Perception, we had 2 papers due every week. One was a short reading response paper, and the other one was a actual sort of composition on a particular question or theme that the faculty decided. We had a lab every week where the students had to have lab notebooks and they had lab write-ups. We had film, I think every other week, where we had a film study and they had to write a response to that. So this idea that it's going to just be no expectations because no grades, I want to make sure that that's dispelled, okay? But the idea is that the work is engaging and interesting so that you're interested in doing the assignments and the writings, okay? So a typical workload. For Perception, we met about 15 hours a week. Those hours were divided by some of the weeks that we had the labs were 3 hours long, and then we had maybe 12 hours on top of that in terms of class, seminars, workshops, and lectures, okay? And every program is different. They generally meet between 14 and 16 hours of seat time or face time with faculty, and then there's an expectation that the student will have an equivalent amount of time of work outside of the classroom. I will say that my experience at Evergreen has been fundamentally life-changing as a faculty member, and I know it's been that way for many of my students. I came from a traditional background. I did not come here because this was this really interesting place. I came here because it was a place where both myself and my husband could find a job. I was teaching at a college in upstate New York. I got married to someone I met in graduate school who was a marine environmental scientist. And I don't know what your geography skills are, but I'll tell you right now, we could find no marine environment in upstate New York. So the criteria to look for another job for me was near a marine environment. Check, this is one, okay? But I have to say, my experience teaching with people in philosophy and literature, and even within the sciences, has fundamentally increased my own sort of background. I would have never read William Blake or even known who that man was. And I'd never taken philosophy. And even the organic chemistry that I took as an undergraduate student as a requirement, as a checkbox that I needed to jump through in order to get to my biology that I wanted, I relearned that here at Evergreen in my first program teaching, because I taught with the organic chemist and a microbiologist. So with that, I'm going to wrap up, and I'm going to introduce our new president, Dr. George Bridges, and he's going to say a few words before we get kicked off for the day. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. This is really cool. I'm really glad to have you all here. We're very excited to have you. And those of you in the expensive seats, we're glad to have you up there as well. Thank you for joining us. My name is George Bridges, and I have the honor of being the 6th president of Evergreen State College. I'm a native Washingtonian and a University of Washington graduate. And my career has been, although across the country, I was a professor at the University of Washington and taught there for 22 years, so I can talk about UW. I was the president of Whitman College for 10 years and just recently retired from that position and came here. So I can talk about a small private liberal arts college if those are issues of interest to you. And I'm certainly excited to tell you about Evergreen. But rather than this being a time where I expound upon the great virtues of this school, I want to hear from you. First, parents and family members, how many of you, this is your first son or daughter going to college? Are we a little nervous? You bet. And for those of you, how many of you, this is your last son or daughter going to college? All right, are you excited? Yeah, you are. So I have been through what you are going through 4 times. And our last adult child is graduating from college in about 4 weeks, and I am so excited to go to his commencement. And you know what? Each one of them is different. Each one of them found their own place, and they all went to very different schools. And no matter what I said and my wife said, they chose on their own, and I think that's the very best way it should be. And students, one final rule that I told some of you in the fall, if you were here, whenever I visited a campus with our son or daughter, as you were visiting, their rule was, Dad, you get one question, and you only get one question. And our daughter exercised the I'm not speaking to you policy if you ask more than one question, and she literally didn't for 24 hours. So I think it's a good rule, and I encourage you to think about whether you can impose that on your folks. So Nancy Murray, a wonderful faculty member, very enthusiastic about the school, and I think did a good job describing it. Let me give you my brief take on Evergreen and why I'm here and why I'm excited to be here. But first and foremost, let me say, students, you have been inundated with brochures and materials and all kinds of paper and communications saying that school X is the very best school and that's where you should attend. They're all wrong. Evergreen's the best school. No. You know what? Right. Truthfully, you can get a great education at any of the 3,000 accredited colleges and universities in this country. It is about fit. It is about where you think you will thrive. Are the people here or wherever you're thinking about going your people? And that's the standard that our children used, and they ended up, as I said, at very different schools, and were very happy with where they went to college. They thrived because they chose based on fit. You know, every school's got a gazillion programs and great strengths. It's about you, and it's about your heart, not your head. You will never be able to assimilate all the knowledge you can about programs and statistics, about the college and what people do afterwards and what they do before. It's about whether you will thrive. Are these your people? Is this your way of learning? Keep that in mind. So what have I learned about Evergreen and how does it compare with the other schools I've been a part of? Well, you can get a great education at UW, you can get a great education at Whitman, and you can get a great education here. But it's about you, not about us. What have I discovered about Evergreen that I didn't really know beforehand? 3 things. And I've tried to simplify this so it's 3 words. If you remember anything, remember these 3 words about Evergreen. It's very personal. Faculty will know your name, and you will be on a first-name basis with them within the first week of classes. You will spend a lot of time with them in your programs. You will know them well, and they will know you well. If that doesn't work for you, don't come here, please. Not everyone likes to be known. When I was at UW, I taught a class with 800 students, 12 teaching assistants. It was like a small business. And it worked really well for some students. They liked sitting in a lecture hall. They liked taking notes. They liked taking exams. For them, that worked. That doesn't happen here. So if that's your model, I encourage you to become a Husky, really. This model is personal. You are known and you will be known. And if you have challenges that you face, we will work with you one-on-one to address those, whatever they might be. And by the way, every college student faces challenges over the period of their education. No one escapes, whether it's a personal situation or a difficult class, program, class, whatever. We are here to support you. Number 2, Evergreen's not very well known, even here in the state of Washington. It is a very powerful model of learning. Second word is powerful. I believe this model. Having sat in on programs here now and heard Nancy describe, we focus on big questions. And what matters to us is that you leave here knowing the difference between a good question and a less than powerful or important question. Questions are more important than answers. Because talk to your parents or your family members and ask them what they remember from their college education. What facts did they leave with that they hold on to religiously and believe today? Not many, because the answers change over time. The questions are important. And the model that we use of cross-disciplinary teaching with multiple faculty looking at big issues, big questions, forces you to do something that you will not have the opportunity to do at other schools, and that is to synthesize knowledge. Because you will be asked to do that in your career over and over again. The problems our world faces, they're incredibly complex. I'm so sorry, students, you're inheriting those problems from my generation. We're leaving you with some really big ones. But no discipline, no major, no course has the answer to solving those problems. They are too big, they're too complex, and that's why a synthetic approach to education, faculty from different angles looking at the same issue, is, I believe, the best model of learning. Powerful education. And it is rigorous. You will write. You will speak. You cannot hide. It's wonderful. in my opinion, okay? For me, it's wonderful. And having sat in on it and wondered how students respond to this, I was so impressed by our students. They developed the capacity to address big questions, synthesizing knowledge from different disciplines in their first year here. It's amazing. Third, productive. So we've got personal, we've got powerful, and we've got productive. What happens when people leave Evergreen? What do? You will leave here with a set of skills that prepares you not just for your first job, but for your 5th job. That is our goal. You will know how to write. You will know how to speak, because you will be in a seminar, and the expectation is you will be engaging others in conversation, dialogue, and debate. You will know how to work collaboratively in groups, and you will know how to use technology to inform your understanding of problems. Those are the skills that employers seek today. Every national survey of major industries and minor industries say, what do you want in your employees? What are you looking for? The ability to communicate, the ability to solve problems in groups, the ability to think around issues from different perspectives, and the ability to use technology. So the skills we offer will prepare you not just for your first career, but for your 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You will leave here with a passion and curiosity. Do our students get jobs? Of course they get jobs. 98% are gainfully employed within 3 years or in graduate school. Within 1 year, it's like 80%, and many of them go on to graduate school. At Evergreen? Really? Yes. One statistic to keep in mind that has just shocked me, because I didn't know this, even as a native Washingtonian. Every year, the public and private institutions in Washington state produce about 25 to 35,000 graduates with BA or BS degrees every year. And what's fascinating is, of those, a small percentage, probably less than 5%, which is still a large number, go on to get PhDs. Of those who go on to get PhDs, or on that broad range of people, fully 1/3 of those people are Evergreen grads. We produce PhDs. And it's because of the way we teach. And if you're interested in the sciences, the moment you walk on this campus, you will have full and complete access to the most advanced scientific equipment that you can use on your own once you've been trained. Doesn't happen at a big university. That is what is so cool about this place. So we produce great individuals. They have all kinds of careers. I could go down a lengthy list of what they're doing, but they're in the sciences, they're in the arts, they're in all manner of professions, and they're all coming back to campus in a few weeks to have a great celebration of Evergreen. So this is an interesting place. It's not well known. And I will tell you that the moment, and this struck me as the last point I'll say, is when I was appointed to this position, my friends called. And the first call I received was from my friend Adam Falk. Adam Falk is the president of Williams College in Williamstown, Massachusetts. And I didn't know what he was going to say. I didn't know he knew about Evergreen. And he said, I am so excited for you. You are going to one of the best colleges in the country. That says much to me, because the reputation of this school nationally is huge. And we want you to be a part of that. I can go on forever. I won't. I'm delighted you're here. And I want to turn it back to Steve Hunter for your day. Hope you have a great time. For those of you who are in the expensive seats, I'll be down here. You can come down and ask me questions. And if anyone wants to speak with me, I'll be around. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, George and Nancy. I'm going to go over the activities for the rest of the day. We plan to break out of here in time for you to get to the 10 o'clock sessions that begin. It will probably be easiest if you have this long sheet with you. Anybody need one of these sheets? And if you do, raise your hands and we'll get them to you. Before I do that, however, I want you to indulge me a little bit, and I'm going to verge on becoming a nudge. The question I have for you is, when you got your letter of admission to Evergreen, you also got some instructions about how to open up your myevergreen.edu account. How many of you have done that? This is very good. And if some of you have not, I want to encourage you to do that as soon as possible, and I want to give you a few reasons why this is important. The My Evergreen account will give you access to registration for fall 2016 classes. And for freshmen, by the way, registration opens on May 2nd at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Those of you who may be here from another time zone will want to keep that in mind. For transfers, registration opens on May 16th. Now, for both of these, you'll need that Evergreen EDU account to get information about registration and to access registration. You'll also need it for making an application and reserving space in campus housing. The deadline for that is June 15th for priority. If you meet that deadline, you are guaranteed a place in freshman housing. So that's another date I'm giving both students and families to keep in mind. But all of those things are also on another small green card, but you could take that as a set of reminders. That's on the last nudging I'm going to give you on this, other than to get to the sessions that are of interest to you. But getting that Evergreen EDU account opened and established is very important for the next steps that you'll want to take in registering at Evergreen. Going back to the longer sheet now that lays out the schedule for the day. At 10 o'clock, and again repeating at 11, there are 5 sessions that will be going on. You'll be able to take advantage of 2 of those, so I encourage you to look now and see which of those are of most interest to you. 4 of them have to do with the academic programs at the college, and you'll see that they're organized into broad categories: humanities, sciences, social sciences, and visual, performing, and media arts. There's also a student panel where you get a chance to hear from some of our own Evergreen students, and they'll talk about what student life is like here. At the academic sessions, you'll be able to hear from faculty about offerings in their area, as well as ask them questions, and we'll also have staff there from both admissions and academic advising. These will be taking place in Seminar 2. That is the large building on your left as you're exiting here out near the circle at the beginning of Red Square. Don't worry about wayfinding. We're going to have lots of our folks around. Stop them and ask. They'll be able to get you where you want to go. Just let them know the room number and the building that you're headed or you're wanting to get to, and they'll help you get there. Quickly running through some of the other things that are available. The bookstore is open today until 3 o'clock. It's located in the campus activities building, which is the building immediately to your left as you exit this building. There is a coupon available that you may have picked up, or you can pick up, that's good for 30% off at the bookstore. And there will also be a raffle that you could sign up for at the bookstore. Our financial aid office is open from 10 to 2 today. That's in my area. You can stop by there to ask if you have questions about your financial aid packaging for 16-17. They're on the first floor of this building, which is just down one set of steps, and it would be, again, to your left. You'd walk by admissions and you could get directions to financial aid. Lunch is available between 11:45 and 1:30. You'll notice I'm kind of rolling down the page here that you have. It's being served in the greenery, which is on the first floor of the cab building. Again, that's this first building on your left. and it's on the first floor. We're attempting to stagger lunches, and you'll see on your meal tickets that you'll have a suggested time. That'll just help us and food service a little bit with crowd control. Food is also available in our student-run eatery called the Flaming Eggplant. It is in the cab building as well, up on the second floor. If you elect to eat there, they're taking cash payments only. Finally, or close to finally, from 11:30 to 2, there are a number of opportunities for tours. You can take tours of the residence halls, and they're leaving from the first floor of the campus activities building, just outside of the greenery. Again, you can ask for directions on that if you need to. There's also an information fair that will be going on all 3 floors of the campus activities building. This is an opportunity to speak with staff who are working in a large variety of student services offices. They are listed on this green sheet that you have, and feel free to take advantage of a short visit with those folks. There is the session on academic advising, may be a particularly important one for you. That's on the 3rd floor of the cab building. Both advising staff and admission counselors will be available. Campus tours are leaving at 11 and 1 o'clock, and they'll be departing from the information desk, which is on the 2nd floor, the one you would walk into from this level in the campus activities building. And there is a tour of media services that will be leaving from the same location in the cab, 2nd floor, of our media services facilities. I believe that takes care of walking you through the schedule. If you have questions, I think we're going to be able to knock off in time for you to come up and talk with me, George, Nancy, any of the staff in the area if you're thinking about how you want to arrange your schedule for the day. As you are leaving, there are restrooms available in this building to your left before you go out the door on either side of the elevators, as well as on the floor up and the floor below. And again, if you need help with wayfinding, do not be concerned. We've got lots of folks out there. Just stop and ask somebody, and they'll get you pointed in the right direction. Thank you for coming this morning, and I hope you have an enjoyable and informative day.